I was sitting in my car staring at my phone. The message from my mother glowed on the screen. Sorry, honey. We are just too busy today. For years, I believed that family would always be there for each other. I never imagined that a single text message would change everything I thought I knew about my own parents. This story begins with a final exam, but it ends with a truth I spent years refusing to see. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear how this story ends, because trust me, you will not see this coming. My name is Marcus, and I'm 30 years old. I am a single father raising my 4-year-old son Danny completely on my own. His mother Amanda left us when Danny was just 18 months old. She walked out one morning and never came back. No phone calls, no child support, nothing, just silence. After she left, I had to figure out how to be both mother and father to a toddler while holding down a full-time job. I work at a logistics company handling shipments and inventory management. The pay is decent, but it is not enough to give Danny the life I want for him. That is why I decided to go back to school 3 years ago. I enrolled in night classes to earn my degree in business administration. My boss promised me that once I graduated, I would be eligible for a promotion with a 30% raise. That extra money would change everything for us. I live in a small one-bedroom apartment. Danny sleeps in the bedroom while I sleep on a pull-out couch in the living room. We make it work. Every penny I earn goes toward rent, groceries, daycare, and tuition. There is never anything left over at the end of the month. But here is the thing that matters for this story. Despite how tight money has been for me, I have been sending my parents $400 every single month for the past 5 years. That is almost $24,000 total. My father Frank has some health issues and needs medication, and my mother Wilma does not work anymore. I thought I was being a good son. I thought I was doing what family does. My parents live about 25 minutes away from my apartment. Not far at all. Growing up, I always believed they loved me and my younger brother Kyle equally. Sure, there were moments that felt off, but I always made excuses for them. They are busy. They did not mean it that way. I am probably overthinking things. I rarely asked them for help because I did not want to be a burden. I pride myself on being independent. I have taken care of myself since I was 22 years old, and I never once asked my parents for money even when I was drowning. So when I needed them for just 1 hour, just one single hour, I thought it would be simple. The exam was scheduled for a Saturday morning. This was not just any exam. This was my final exam, the last test standing between me and my degree. 3 years of exhaustion, sacrifice, and sleepless nights all came down to this one morning. The exam would take about 2 hours, and with travel time, I needed someone to watch Danny for maybe 3 hours total. On Wednesday, 3 days before the exam, I called my mother. I explained the situation carefully. I told her how important this test was, how it would determine my entire future, and Danny's future too. I asked if she and my father could watch Danny on Saturday morning. Just 3 hours. That is all I needed. Her voice sounded hesitant from the start. She said she would need to check their schedule and get back to me. I said okay and waited. Wednesday passed. No call back. On Thursday, I sent her a text message asking if she had figured out their schedule. She read the message. I could see the little check mark that showed she had seen it, but she did not respond. Thursday turned into Friday. I was getting nervous. That evening, I called again. This time, my father answered. He sounded distracted. He told me that my mother was tired and they would let me know. I asked him to please give me an answer because I needed to make arrangements. He said he understood and hung up. Friday night at 10 o'clock, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Sorry, honey. We are just too busy tomorrow. Maybe ask someone else. I read those words over and over. Too busy. Too busy to help their son for 1 hour. Too busy to watch their only grandchild so their son could complete his education. My chest felt tight. I tried to convince myself that they must have something really important going on. Maybe a doctor's appointment. Maybe something I did not know about. I did not want to believe the alternative, but I did not have time to dwell on it. I had less than 12 hours to find someone to watch Danny. I scrolled through my contacts desperate. Most of my friends work weekends or have their own families to take care of. Then I thought of Priscilla, a coworker of mine. She is about 50 years old and lives alone. We are not extremely close, but she has always been kind to me at work. I called her apologizing for the late notice. I explained my situation. Without hesitation, she said yes. She told me she had been planning to go to a gardening workshop on Saturday, but she could skip it. She said my education was more important than her learning about tomato plants. I almost cried. A coworker I barely knew outside of work was willing to change her plans for me. My own parents could not be bothered. Saturday morning came. I woke up at 5 in the morning to prepare everything. I made Danny his breakfast packed, his favorite toys, wrote down his nap schedule and meal times. I drove him to Priscilla's house at 7, giving myself plenty of time to get to the testing center. When I handed Danny over, Priscilla looked at my face and paused. I must have looked exhausted, defeated. She put her hand on my arm and said, "Go ace that exam. Danny will be just fine with me." I took the exam in a daze. My mind kept wandering back to that text message. Too busy. I forced myself to focus, answering each question methodically. When I finally finished and walked out of the testing center, I felt relief mixed with a strange emptiness. I picked Danny up from Priscilla's house and thanked her profusely. She waved it off and told me to go celebrate finishing my degree. But there was nothing to celebrate. Not yet. The next day was Sunday. I took Danny to the park near our apartment, trying to shake off the heaviness that had settled over me. While Danny played on the swings, I sat on a bench and scrolled through my phone. That is when I saw it. My sister-in-law Heather had posted a photo album on Facebook. The cover image showed a giant water slide against a bright blue sky. I clicked on it and my heart stopped. There were 15 photos in the album. In every single one, my parents were smiling, laughing, having the time of their lives. My mother Wilma was giving my nephew Jake a piggyback ride in the wave pool. My father Frank was buying ice cream cones for my niece Sophie. There was a family photo in front of a massive fountain, all 4 of them, plus my brother Kyle and his wife Heather, grinning like they did not have a care in the world. The caption read, "Best grandparents ever. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for driving all the way to take our babies to the water park. 3 generations of fun." The location tag showed Waterworld Adventure Park. I knew that place. It was over 2 hours away from my parents' house. The photos were posted on Sunday afternoon, but the timestamps on the individual pictures showed they were taken on Saturday. The same Saturday my mother told me they were too busy. I did the math in my head. If they were at a water park 2 hours away on Saturday, they would have had to leave Friday evening or early Saturday morning. That meant when my mother sent me that text saying they were too busy, she was either packing for the trip or already on her way. She lied to me. My hands started shaking as I scrolled through the photos again. My mother cradling Jake in the lazy river. My father teaching Sophie how to hold her breath underwater. Everyone so happy, so carefree. Meanwhile, I had been scrambling to find childcare, begging a coworker to cancel her plans, sitting in an exam room filled with anxiety, because my own parents could not spare 1 hour for me. Danny ran over to me. "Daddy, why do you look sad?" I forced a smile. "Nothing, buddy." Daddy is just thinking. But I was not just thinking. I was drowning in a realization I had spent my entire life avoiding. That night after Danny went to bed, I sat alone in my dark living room and let myself remember. I let myself see the pattern I had been ignoring for 30 years. Danny's 4th birthday party last year. Wilma and Frank arrived 2 hours late and stayed for exactly 30 minutes before leaving because they were tired. That same month, they threw an elaborate birthday celebration for Sophie at an expensive restaurant downtown. They stayed the entire evening. When I graduated high school, my parents gave me a used laptop that barely functioned. When Kyle graduated 2 years later, they bought him a car worth $15,000. I paid for my own college education by working 2 jobs simultaneously. Kyle's tuition was covered by our parents, plus they gave him spending money every month. When Kyle and Heather bought their 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, our parents contributed a significant portion of the down payment. When I signed the lease on my tiny 1-bedroom apartment, my mother told me I needed to learn to be independent. I had always made excuses. Kyle was younger, so he needed more help. Kyle had kids with Heather, so of course our parents wanted to support them. Kyle chose a career path that required more financial investment. But now I could not hide from the truth anymore. It was not about circumstances. It was about choices. My parents chose Kyle. They had always chosen Kyle, and they would always choose Kyle. I needed to hear it from her directly. I needed to understand. I called my mother on Sunday night. She answered with a cheerful voice. "Hi, honey. How was your exam?" I took a breath. "Mom, what did you do yesterday?" A pause. "Oh, we just stayed home, rested a bit. You know how it is." She lied again. Right to my face, without hesitation. "Really," I said, "because I saw Heather's Facebook post. You were at Waterworld with Kyle's kids." The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Finally, she spoke. "Well, that was different. Kyle asked us weeks ago. It was already planned. I asked you 3 days in advance," I said. "For 1 hour. 1 hour, Mom. You always make everything about yourself," she snapped. "Kyle's kids needed us too." "Kyle has a wife at home," I replied. "I am a single dad. I needed help for my final exam. You drove 2 hours for a water park. You could not drive 25 minutes for me." "This is exactly why you are always unhappy," she said, her voice rising. "You keep score. Family does not keep score. No, Mom. Family shows up. Family does not lie." She was quiet for a moment, then said, "I'm not going to argue with you. When you calm down, call me back." She hung up. I sat in the darkness for a long time after that call. Something inside me had broken, but something else had finally become clear. In the days that followed, I did not reach out to my parents. I could not bring myself to pretend everything was fine when nothing was fine. Wilma started texting me as if our conversation never happened. She sent pictures of meals she cooked. She shared funny videos. She asked how Danny was doing. I did not respond to most of them. When I did reply, I kept it short. 1 or 2 words. A week later, my father called. "Your mother is upset," he said. "You should apologize." I did not argue. I simply said, "I have nothing to apologize for, Dad." Then I ended the call. Around this time, I started thinking about the money. $400 every single month. For 5 years. I had been scraping by denying Danny things he needed just to support parents who could not give me 1 hour of their time. I looked at my bank account. I looked at my budget. I looked at the numbers and realized how much I had sacrificed for people who would never sacrifice for me. That month, I did not send the money. I did not tell them. I did not explain. I just stopped. The first month passed. My parents did not mention the missing money. Perhaps they thought it was a banking error. Perhaps they assumed I would send it the next month. I got the results from my final exam. I passed with a high score. My boss called me into his office and officially offered me the promotion. My salary would increase by 30%, starting the following month. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The second month came and went. Wilma started calling more frequently. I let most of her calls go to voicemail. When I did answer, she talked about the weather, about a show she was watching, about anything except what really mattered. She never once acknowledged what had happened. She never apologized. I started spending more time with Danny. We went to parks, museums, the zoo. I was present in a way I had not been when I was consumed with anxiety about money and family obligations. Danny started smiling more. So did I. Priscilla became a regular part of our lives. Danny started calling her Grandma P, and she embraced the role with joy. She came to his preschool events, baked cookies with him on weekends, and spoiled him with the kind of unconditional love my own parents had never shown him. I also started seeing someone. Her name was Natalie, a preschool teacher I met at Dania's school during a parent-teacher conference. She was warm, patient, and she adored Danny. We took things slowly, but for the first time since Amanda left, I felt hopeful about the future. The third month arrived. My life with Danny had become peaceful. There was no drama, no guilt trips, no feeling like I was never enough. The absence of my parents in our daily lives was not painful. It was liberating. What I did not know was that Wilma and Frank had grown dependent on my monthly payments. They used that money for utilities and medication. Kyle, despite his comfortable life in his 4-bedroom house with his 2 cars and his annual vacations, had never sent them a single dollar. After 3 months without my contributions, my parents' finances were falling apart. It was a Thursday evening. Danny and I were on the couch reading his favorite book about dinosaurs. My phone rang. The screen showed Mom. I hesitated, then I answered. "Marcus, honey, we need to talk." Her voice was different, strained, nervous. "What is it, Mom? We have not received your money this month. Actually, for the past 3 months." I kept my voice steady. "I know. What do you mean? Did something happen? Are you okay?" "I am fine," I said. "I just stopped sending it." Silence stretched between us. I could hear her processing, trying to understand. But why, she finally asked. "We depend on that money, Marcus. Your father needs his medication." I almost laughed. The irony was too much. "Mom, I am a single dad working full-time and going to school. You told me I need to be independent. Maybe you should learn the same." She started crying. "How can you do this to us? We are your parents. You are my parents when you need something," I said. "Where were you when I needed you? You could not watch Danny for 1 hour. But you could drive 2 hours to take Kyle's kids to a water park." "That was different," she protested. "You always bring that up because it showed me the truth. You have 2 sons, but you only have 1 family." She sobbed harder. "So you are just going to abandon us after everything we did for you, everything you did for me?" I felt tears forming in my own eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "Mom, I paid my own way through college. I raised Danny alone. I sent you money every month even when I could barely afford groceries. And you could not give me 1 hour." 1 hour. A long silence followed. Finally, I spoke again. "I am not abandoning you. I am just finally putting my son first, the way you always put Kyle first." I ended the call. After that conversation, there was fallout. A few days later, Kyle called me for the first time in months. His voice was full of righteous anger. "What the hell is wrong with you? Mom is crying every day." I stayed calm. "Did you ever send them money, Kyle?" He stammered. "That is not the point. Answer the question. In 5 years, did you ever send Mom and Dad money?" He did not answer. The silence told me everything. "That is what I thought," I said. "Maybe it is your turn now." He hung up without another word. He never called again. A week later, my father sent me a text. "Your mother is heartbroken. I hope you are happy." I did not respond. There was nothing left to say. My father would never admit that they had treated me unfairly. He would never apologize. Some people never change, and I had finally accepted that. The first few weeks after cutting them off were hard. I would lie awake at night wondering if I had been too harsh. They were my parents, after all. Did they not deserve grace? But then I would look at Danny sleeping peacefully in his room, the room he finally had all to himself since we moved to a bigger apartment. I would remember how alone I felt that Friday night when I had no one to turn to. I would recall my mother's cheerful lies and my father's demands that I apologize for being hurt. And I would remember the truth: protecting yourself and your child is not cruel. It is survival. With the $400 I no longer sent to my parents, I opened a savings account for Danny's future. We moved to a 2-bedroom apartment in a nicer neighborhood. Danny had his own space for the first time in his life. He decorated his walls with dinosaur posters and glow-in-the-dark stars. Natalie became a regular presence in our home. She was patient with Danny and gentle with me. She understood my complicated feelings about my parents and never judged me for setting boundaries. Priscilla, my Grandma P, became the grandmother Danny had always deserved. She attended every school play, every soccer game, every milestone. She loved him freely without conditions or favorites. 6 months after I stopped sending money, I received a text from my mother. "I miss Danny. Can we see him?" I thought about it for days. Part of me wanted to believe she had changed, that she finally understood. But another part of me knew better. I wrote back, "When you are ready to acknowledge what happened and apologize, we can talk. Until then, I need to protect my peace." She never responded. That silence was her answer. I do not hate my parents. Hatred requires too much energy, and I have none to spare. I feel sadness when I think about them. Sadness for what could have been. Sadness for the relationship I always wanted but never had. But I also feel free. I learned that family is not just about blood. Family is the people who show up when you need them. Family is Priscilla giving up her gardening workshop to watch a child who was not hers. Family is Natalie staying up late with me when I need to talk about my feelings. Family is the friends from my single-parent support group who understand exactly what this journey feels like. I learned that you cannot earn love from people who do not want to give it. I spent 30 years trying to prove myself worthy of my parents' attention, their pride, their support. I sent money I could not afford. I made excuses for their behavior. I convinced myself that their favoritism was in my imagination. None of it mattered. They had made their choice long before I was born. I learned that setting boundaries is not selfish. It is how you protect your energy for the people who truly deserve it. My son deserves a father who is whole, not one who is constantly depleted by chasing approval that will never come. And I learned that sometimes walking away from a toxic relationship is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. Tonight I am sitting on my couch. Danny is curled up beside me, half asleep after a long day at the park. Natalie is in the kitchen humming while she makes us hot chocolate. The apartment smells like cinnamon and home. Outside the window, the sun is setting. The sky is painted in shades of orange and purple. It is beautiful. I used to think being a good son meant giving everything I had even when I had nothing left. I used to believe that if I just tried harder, loved more, sacrificed more, my parents would finally see me. But some people are looking at someone else, and no matter how loud you shout, they will never turn around. That is not your failure. That is their choice. And your choice is whether you keep shouting into the void or start building a life where your voice matters. I chose to build. And for the first time in my life, I am home. If you are watching this and you have ever had to walk away from family to find peace, I want you to know that you are not alone. Your decision to protect yourself does not make you a bad person. It makes you brave. Drop a comment below and share your story. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who refused to change? How did it affect your life? I would love to hear from you. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. It helps more people find this channel and hear stories that might help them through their own struggles. And if you have not already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Sometimes knowing that others have walked the same path makes our own journey a little easier. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope wherever you are, you find the courage to put yourself first when you need to, and the wisdom to know when that time has come. Until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve it.